Welcome everybody. My name is Richard Inouye. I'm one of the associate. Welcome to GrTS. This is our ongoing series of training series for graduate students. I'm glad you folks could make it here. Hopefully you're here for more than just the food, but I hope you enjoy the food as well. So, topic for our GrTS today is common grad school mistakes and how to avoid them! Exclamation point. So notice it says common grad school mistakes. Many of you have already made one of the more common graduate school mistakes, which is sitting in the back of the room. As usual, there's space up front. We encourage you to move up front so you can participate. We have a panel today of, we have a distinguished panel today of individuals who are at the very end of their graduate programs or who have finished their graduate programs within the last year or two. And we're going to ask each of them to provide some comments to you about this topic, mistakes they may have seen. Hopefully some of the mistakes we hear about will be uncommon, because those are always much more interesting than the common mistakes. From your left to right, we have Mikey, Justin, Stephen, Margie, and Sarah. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They can say when they have their degree or the degree is in live context for the comments that they have to make. As always, we're interested in getting your feedback about this session. There are boxes out at the back of the room where you can drop in a card with either comments or just drop it in the thumbs up, thumbs down box. Thumbs up means good. Okay. So I think with that, I will turn it over to our panelists. And Mikey, you're first up.
Sorry, forgot to tell you this was happening. Is it on now? Yeah? Okay. So before we start with the panelists, I just want to share a little bit of background about this topic. My name is Heather Zollinger. I work for the Office of Research and Graduate Studies in the communications team. And about 2 weeks ago, we sent out a survey to graduate students who are finishing up this semester or who have finished in the last 2 years. And we asked them for advice for you guys. And so before the people who are here with us today share theirs, I'm going to share a little bit of data from that and a little bit of some advice that they shared. So the first question that we asked them was just an open response. What was your biggest struggle in grad school? And they could put whatever they wanted in there, but 43% of people talked about time management, which is a huge number. The next highest was 15% with thesis writing, and then 14% with finances, and 10% with relationships with mentor or faculty. The next question, we had them rank 10 different items that could have been a stressor, categories of stressors in grad school, and again, the highest was time management, followed by finances and academic success. And so I'm just going to share a few of their comments from those three things. If you want to hear more of their comments from the other topics or more from those topics, we will be sharing these quotes on our social media for the rest of the year, just sporadically. And you can follow the grad school on Twitter at @USU_grad or on Facebook at USU Graduate Student. So the main thing that people talked about with time management was scheduling. And I'm sure you all probably guessed that you just need to schedule out your days, schedule out your tasks, make sure that you know what you need to do and when it needs to be done. One person even went so far as to suggest scheduling everything down to 15-minute increments. That if you schedule your whole day into 15-minute slots, you'll actually be more productive than you think that you can be. Another person suggested to schedule more time per task than you think you'll need. If you think an assignment will take 2 hours, schedule 2.5 or 3. That way you'll have that leeway if something goes wrong, or if everything goes well and it's done in 2 hours, then you have that extra time as a buffer. Another person talked about some strategies that they use to become more efficient, and that's how they managed their time, is that life doesn't get easier after grad school, they said. They said it's still so many demands on your time, there's still so much you have to do, and that the strategies that you gain now and the skills that you gain now to become more efficient with your time are going to help you for the rest of your life. And so that's a worthwhile investment of your time now. One example of this is that this person used to spend 3 or 4 hours a week working with data in doing data management. And they spent some time, about a week of time, they said, just learning Excel, learning all the macros, learning how to make things faster, and now it takes them 4 or 5 minutes a week instead of 3 or 4 hours and that was a really well worth it investment of their time. One thing that several people mentioned is that in addition to scheduling out your meetings and your assignments in your schedule, that you should also try and schedule in your personal time for yourself at the gym, with your dog, with your spouse, with your kids, whatever you need to stay healthy and to keep up your relationships. Because if you treat those like they're less important, these people said they won't. You them as well as you should, and that you should, when they're on your schedule, treat them just as important as you would a meeting with your advisor. If you've got a meeting with your advisor on your schedule, you're not going to skip that to go study. And if you have a meeting with your kid or with your gym, that's just as important, according to these people, that you should really focus on that as well and make sure that you don't neglect those aspects of your life just because you have a lot of other things to do. The next thing was finances. I'm sure people are struggling about. This is grad school. And the thing that most people talked about with that is to just budget as much as you can and stick to a budget, and to apply for scholarships. One great piece of advice that I saw was someone who said that it really helped them to keep a perspective with their finances, that they had to take out loans, but that these loans it was an investment in their future, and that in the next few years it was going to pay itself off with a better job, with a better life, and that's how they managed that, as they kept up a good perspective. And the last topic was, what was it? Academic success and thesis writing. And Justin's going to talk about thesis writing in a minute, so I'll skip that part. But with academic success, a lot of people talked about, oh goodness, I lost it. I used to have slides, you guys. I had all the quotes up there so you could see them, but that didn't happen. So I'm doing all of this from memory. Goodness, I'm completely blanking. Thank you. I practiced this presentation several times with him. He remembered for me. So the thing that most people acknowledged was that grad students have a tendency to want to be perfect. Raise your hand if you want to get straight A's. Yeah, it's a good thing to get straight A's, but sometimes, we talked about time management, sometimes you don't have the time to get straight A's. And one person said that they struggle that they went through and that they had to learn is that it's more worth their while to get something out of a class and to really learn something than to get 100% on an assignment. And a lot of people had similar advice to that. Another person suggested breaking down your assignments into smaller chunks and to focus on just one thing at a time. You've got this big picture, you know everything that you need to do, but if you just look at one piece at a time and you work on that piece, that's going to be more manageable. And the last piece of advice from them that I have to share with you before we pass it on to our great panelists is that in addition to taking the time to do your studies, you have to take the time to take care of yourself. And that the more that you take care of yourself and you take the time to go to yoga, go outside, spend time with your people you care about, then you'll be able to focus better on the time that you're spending on your academics and be more successful that way. So thank you guys, and I'll pass it over to Mikey.
Thanks, Heather. I definitely agree with a lot of that. I think it's a really good idea to try to not become too obsessive. I think that's a mistake that I made. So yeah, my name is Mikey Kettinger, and I'm class of 2017. I just graduated in the spring from the Department of Art and Design. I studied the intersections of art with science, technology, engineering, and math. So I do a lot of hands-on projects, interactive projects, try to get people to look at scientific information in different ways and to have experiences with those. And for the last 2 years, I've been working at the Nora Eccles Harrison Museum of Art, which is the art museum that's on the other end of campus here. I'm the mobile art truck supervisor. Has anybody ever seen the mobile art truck? Cool, yeah, it has solar panels on top of it. We do mobile exhibitions. Sometimes it functions as a classroom. Sometimes it's a studio where people are making artwork. Sometimes it's more like a gallery space where we have exhibitions. Sometimes it's a cinema. The solar panels allow it to go anywhere we want and to have electricity to operate computers or projectors or televisions and things like that. So it's a really cool program, something that I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to work with that I just got because I came to Utah State. The way I ended up here is my advisor from Utah State was my professor at Florida State University in 2008, which was my last semester at Florida State. And he taught me an art class on street art, guerrilla art, and intervention. which is a really fun class that I liked a lot, and I kind of had a good relationship with him. Kept in touch with him, followed his work. He became a really big inspiration to me and a kind of a mentor after I was no longer a student, which I appreciated, kept in touch. And then out of the blue, 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, he sent me a Facebook message and said, have you ever thought about going to grad school? I have this new program that I'm starting at Utah State, where we're trying to get people to engage with science, technology, engineering, and math in different ways. And we're trying to get artists to come up with some new ways to do that. And I think you would be really good for this program. I had never been to Utah before, had no idea what to expect, but I knew that working with him, his name is Mark Lee Coven, I knew that would be a really good opportunity and a really exciting thing for me. So I took a big gamble and left a nice stable teaching job and came out here to become a student at Utah State, and I'm really happy that I did that. I learned so much here, not only within my academic career, but also in terms of extracurricular things that I'm just so grateful for, and I'm really happy to be an alum from Utah State. And I'd really like to go around and share that with people and let people know anytime I leave town, which is a lot, traveling, I'm really proud to represent this university and to represent Cache Valley in a very different way than most native Cache Valley people do. So yeah, in terms of mistakes, a mistake that I definitely made was to become overly obsessed with being perfect. So I really appreciate what Heather was saying. I definitely am one of those people that made that mistake. And some good advice that I received from my advisor is, number one, to try and travel whenever you can. And it seems like it's really daunting and it's a crazy idea, but it's definitely practical. I'm gonna go through some of the places that I suggest that you do that to. But also something simple like doing physical activity if you are at a point where you are really stuck, whether it's just becoming frustrated or exhausted. If you do something simple like going for a run, or for me, I really like to shoot basketball or go to the batting cage or something like that, it can kind of reset your mind and it helps a lot. So sometimes, even if you're really facing a tough deadline, sometimes devoting that 20 minutes to some type of physical activity will ultimately help you. And it's not any kind of a waste of time. That's a really well spent 20 minutes because you're resetting your brain and you're making everything work a little bit better. You can get those ideas flowing instead of still staring at the computer, writing, or whatever it is that you're having to do. So I really recommend that. Things that are that I'm really happy about with the USU community and the Logan community. Specifically, I have 3 reasons that I think you should be excited to be here. And you might only be here for a couple of years, but it's a good idea to kind of take advantage of those things while you're here. Number 1 is we got breakfast covered here. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the meal that Cache Valley does extremely well is breakfast. We have Crumb Brothers, Herms, Waffle Iron, Stacked, the new pancake place, Cafe Ibis, even Stevens, which gives free coffee and discounts to students if you show them your ID, and they're really cool about that. These are all really great places to not only go to separate yourself from your academic studies, but you can also be really productive at these type of places as well if you want to actually work there. And all of those places I just named are particularly even Stevens, Stacked, Ibis, and the Waffle Iron are really supportive of USU students, student organizations, and events. So if you have any type of events that you're trying to throw, or like promoting things through posters or flyers or trying to spread the word, all those places are really receptive to that. So I encourage, getting to know those people that work at those places and having, maybe holding your own meetings there and stuff like that. Definitely something that I love doing and that I recommend. Another way that you can kind of separate yourself or to reset your mind and to get out of town and to get out of your routine that can bog you down something that's good about Cache Valley is our location and our proximity to so many really cool things. And I definitely am still trying to make up for the times that I have not spent taking advantage of this. I've done a little bit, but I wish I had done more, because like I said, I was a little bit too obsessed. But we're so close to really cool places like Boise, Fossil Butte National Monument, which is about an 1.5-hour drive away. You can do your own excavations, pay like $25 and you can dig up your own fossils. Boise is about a 4-hour drive. Of course, Yellowstone and Tetons, those are things people are more aware of. Any chance you have to go down south to Moab, to go to Arches, and places like that, you're never gonna feel that you wasted your time doing that. And that's kind of a inexpensive thing to do too, because you can camp there. They also have cheap hotels. It's maybe like a 5-hour drive from here, I think. Those are all really worthwhile things. And if you're gonna end up leaving Utah and not coming back, that's gonna be the thing that you're gonna really remember, being in this 360-degree, almost foreign planet type of landscape. Something else that people don't really realize and take advantage of is that it's a really good opportunity to travel from Salt Lake City Airport. You can go to places like LA, San Diego, Denver, Portland, Seattle for pretty cheap. I've gone round trip to LA if you have the timing right, and if you get kind of lucky with some sales. I have gone to LA round trip for less than $150. And I've traveled to a bunch of airports, and I have decided that Salt Lake International Airport has the friendliest staff of any airport in the whole planet. So that's something to be proud of as well. Invite people that you love to come and visit you here. They will really like it here if they are only coming for a few days and they're trying to get out of an urban area or some type of chaotic place that they're in. They're gonna really appreciate it. And that's gonna make you happy about being here as well. You know, of course, it's easy to take for granted our landscape because we see it every day. But when people come here to visit you, and then you're trying to figure out, well, what is it that I really like about this place and this town or the surrounding areas, then it's gonna force you to come up with those things that you like about it here, because you wanna show the people that are visiting you. And I've had a lot of fun hosting. It may sound like it's gonna be too much of a hassle, but try to make that happen as well. The last thing I want you to be excited about is the potential of Logan, which I really believe in. Potential of Logan, as well as just Utah State University. Did anybody go to the Block Festival that was last weekend? That was downtown? See, this is why they bring people like me here to tell you about these things. So the Block Festival used to be a film festival in Logan. And the people who came up with this idea and who do the Block Festival, they're native Utahns, and they really are committed to making Logan a cooler town and to building culture and having people come here to do creative things and to share that with the community. So it's turned into this annual art, music, and film festival, which is a really cool thing. And it happened October 6th and 7th, so if you didn't know about it, then you missed it. But there's other things like that that are popping up. And if you have interest in creating events, then the town is really receptive to that. And if you want to do it at any of those downtown businesses, or even, you know, in terms of closing down a street or something, the city of Logan is very receptive to that and open to that as well. Student groups here. It's extremely easy to create your own student group and to spread the word. And if there's interest in other people to do the same thing that you're doing, that's always possible. The things that I am involved with or have been that I really recommend, Aggie Radio, they are very open. Utah Public Radio, it's very easy to get internships there if you're willing to work hard. The Statesman newspaper, whether it's that you're contributing just one thing, like you read an article that makes you upset or that you're really excited about something, they're constantly having people submit content. We just opened a new art gallery over there in the Kane College, which is really cool. It's called the Tippets Gallery. It's a good thing to just walk in and out of for a few minutes. And then the museum where I work is being renovated right now, and it's going to be really amazing as well. That won't be open until next fall, but that's also a really cool thing. So be proud to be here. Find the things you like about it. Whenever I travel, I'm really proud. I'm always bringing my Utah State shirt and stuff like that, my Aggie Radio shirt. I think there's a lot good happening here, and I think that you guys hopefully will contribute to that and not just see what's here, but if there's things that you think could grow more or things that don't exist here that you would like to see here, then make those things happen. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, hey, I'm Justin Christensen. I just got my degree in physics, a master's degree, and been waiting for forever, but I finally signed it last month. So, let's see. I studied in the materials physics group, and we studied how different materials on spacecraft react with the solar wind and the plasma and stuff that's out in space, how they charge up and glow and arc and all sorts of crazy fun things. I wanted to focus on just a couple of the mistakes that I've made over my time here and things that I wish that I had done differently. I guess they liked one of the mistakes I made, and so they wanted me to talk a little bit about things that I wish I had done differently while I was writing my thesis. When I started writing my thesis, I thought I knew what I was doing. I had my proposal that I'd written and defended in front of my committee. And so as soon as I got the okay from them to go ahead with my project, I just jumped into the lab and started doing stuff. And I did that for a few months, just collecting data and analyzing stuff, but I hadn't really taken time to write things down and start preparing my thesis. And so that when it came time for me to start writing my thesis, I had a bunch of stuff and I had to figure out how to organize it all. And once I started putting it all together, I realized there was holes that I hadn't thought of or different things I needed to go back and do again or differently. And so I wish that I had gone, before I jumped into the lab, that I started researching and trying to put together my thesis from the very beginning. There's a lot of things I think once you have your proposal done, I think there's a lot of things that you can write from there. They're like the introduction. I think you need to know a lot of background about what you're studying before you start researching it. So you might as well write your introduction and learn all the things that you can about that. And then from there, start to come up with a plan of the different tests. I guess this is kind of more related to scientific writing, but having a plan of all the different tests that you're going to do, what you hope to find out from them, and then just write as much as you can, as early as you can, because the act of writing is actually one of, I think, the best ways to organize your thoughts and organize your time and your studies. Anyway, a couple other mistakes that I made. I'm glad to know that somebody else here is talking a little bit about mental health. I think it's really important to take care of your mental health. There were multiple times where I got bogged down and just burned out with writing and working on my thesis. And I think it's important to take some time for yourself. And if you're tired of doing one thing, hopefully what you're researching has lots of different aspects, and you can take a break from one thing if it's bugging you, work on something a little easier. It's also easy when you start to get burned out to procrastinate doing things, to find something more interesting to do. And I think something that helped me, the days that I got the most work done is days that I got up early. I did something simple on my to-do list. And then once I was able to check that off, I felt good about myself and I was able to stay motivated and do some of the harder things for the rest of the day. Anyway, I think that's all I have to share. I'll turn it over to you.
So my name is Stephen Klobuchar. I'm a PhD student in the Watershed Sciences Department in the Ecology Center. I just set my defense date yesterday. So that's about a month away. I study lakes and fishes for my dissertation. I study lakes in Arctic Alaska and how food webs will be changing in a changing climate. But more so what I'll talk about now is kind of what has been touched on already today is a little bit about time management, and then better possible ways to work on achieving a work-life balance when you're in grad school. Hopefully you've realized by now that grad school is not a typical 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job. And if you do make it through grad school on that schedule, you're the most efficient person there is, and you should be up here talking as well. But that says you can't work all the time, but you can't go exploring every weekend. You need to find a balance. And something that I struggle with, and I'm still working on, but I'm getting better at, is to set a schedule, find what schedule works for you, and then stick to it. So everybody works differently. Some people work better in the morning, some people work better in the afternoon. Recently, I've been working well from about 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. I don't recommend that for a long period of time. So basically, don't listen to me. But what's important is, and Heather mentioned maybe scheduling out every 15 minutes of your day. Someone that works for someone, I think that would be a little too much for me. So you need to find out what works for you and try to stick to that schedule. An important thing that I've been trying to do more and more is when I know I have a large chunk of time, I don't have classes, don't have any other meetings, and I know that's coming up a day or two from now, know what I'm going to be doing during that time and do that. Shut off your email, shut off your phone, and work on that. Get focused. Because when you think about, writing your dissertation or something like that, and if you're going to set a task or to complete a task, you have to realize how much time it takes you to get in the mindset to get that task going. And it's an hour or two later, and then you're really getting working. And if you're like, oh, well, now I have to go do something else, then you've kind of wasted that time that you just put forward. And so that's one thing that I've really struggled with, is not thinking I need to check my email, and then every email I get needs an immediate response. If someone needs an immediate response, they're going to come find you. You can set a time. Maybe that's what you do in your morning with your coffee, or at the end of the day. You have a set period of time where you look at emails and reply to them. So you're not getting distracted as much through the day. Another thing that I think is important when you're thinking about what you're doing with your time is to set achievable goals. Make a list of what you want to do and make sure it's stuff that you can do. So say you want to write one paragraph of your introduction. Don't say you want to write your whole first chapter, because that's just going to be pushed down your to-do list on and on. But if you pick at what you're doing, small pieces at a time, that'll help you get further along in your progress. My advisor is always saying, if you write one paragraph a day, your dissertation would be done in a matter of weeks. And that's an oversimplification of it, but I understand the concept and the idea there. So set a plan and make sure your plan is achievable, and then reward yourself when you achieve a goal. If you're checking things off your list and you need to get away from your computer, go for a walk around campus if it's nice out. Go get a snack. Go do something along those lines. Go for a run. do something, but have, you know, that goal to help get you to finish that task. So, you know, there's some people I know that will, you know, or set apart their time, and they'll set a timer and they will work on their thing until that timer goes off, and then they'll take a break. Or you can work until you get your task done. You know, like I said, other things work for different people. I would say to avoid, for me at least, I'm not very good at setting self deadlines and then meeting them. Some people are. So if you need to set a deadline for yourself, do that. But don't fall in the trap of setting a deadline for yourself and then not being able to meet it if it's just not logistically possible, because that you get down on yourself and you feel like you're behind all the time. So always work towards achievable goals. And I operate on the pi rule, which is everything will take 3.14 times longer than you believe it will. Something Heather mentioned in the opening. So always account for a little more time than you think you need. And just a couple quick final points on, you know, achieving a work-life balance. And don't get too worked up or worried about being perfect. Favorite saying of mine is, don't let school get in the way of your education. So do what you need to do. Learn how to say no. Oftentimes you'll have peers that need help with some of their research or anything like that, and they'll be asking you to help out, and that's great, and you should help them when you can, but you should also recognize when you can't. Learn how to say no. You know, things that can help you finish your degree or get you a job are good. Things that help other people are great, and like I said, do them when you can, but also don't feel like you need to do everything yourself. Don't eat lunch at your desk. Get up, go eat somewhere else, interact with other people. Don't sit there and try to keep working while you're eating your sandwich. You get crumbs all over, and it's just, you need a break, a mental break. Get a dog. Yes, they force you to go on a walk. They're always happy to see you when you get home. They make you go home, leave your office, or, you know, maybe you're married, you have kids. That's great. The kids are happy to see you when you get home. You know, that's another thing that helps you schedule your time so that you can have time for yourself and get your work done, and have motivation to get your work done so you can go home and walk your dog. Final things are, don't waste 15 minutes when you have them. If you've got 15 minutes before an appointment, you can, you know, think that, oh, I can just go get lost on the internet for a little bit, check my Facebook, whatever. Or you can, you know, you can then take that 15 minutes to reply to an email that you need, you know, or you can look up a reference you need to find. You know, if you're writing and you're disconnected from the internet, you know, just keep writing. Say you need to look up a reference and go look it up after the fact when you have that extra 15 minutes. And then finally, just when you can, take a weekend, disconnect, turn off your phone, turn off your email, go travel, like Mikey said, when you have a chance and when it fits in your schedule. But just make sure you have a schedule that works for you and stick to that as best you can.
Hi, my name is Margie Boretsky. My actual name is Małgorzata Rycerewicz-Boretsky, but nobody can say that except if you're Polish. So I received my PhD in environmental engineering in December of 2015. I'm going to give you guys a 2-second background on me. I am not linear. I started in landscape architecture, worked in the field, went back to get a master's in landscape architecture, became a professor of landscape architecture here at Utah State University. After 4 years with a master's in landscape architecture as a professor, decided, I don't know how to write research papers. So went back and got a PhD in environmental engineering and stormwater research. I'm not linear. not typical. It was supposed to be a 4-year program. It took 6.5 years. A lot of that was because of the relationships, or my inability to deal with the relationships, maybe. So I'm going to talk about my academic relationships and expectations I had with the people that I worked with. And then also mental health and how to try to manage those things. So I'm going to start with, I don't know, I think I might go back and forth. I was getting a PhD. I was highly successful, I guess, under many people's definition of successful. I've never felt so stupid. And if you guys are in a position where you really feel stupid, being really, really smart, welcome to academia. Because that is hard. You have a whole lot of really smart people that you're trying to talk to and to show your abilities to. And they don't necessarily, my professors, I was in engineering, and I don't know if you guys know anything, I don't know how it is anywhere else, maybe less so in landscape architecture. But in engineering, there's a whole lot of people on that spectrum, on that autism spectrum, where social interaction isn't exactly their forte, right? This isn't what they do. This is not the psychology department. These are not people who are trying to be kind to you. These are people who are trying to get tasks done, and they're highly successful at it. In the process, they're not taking the time to be kind. And it's okay, right? But I didn't know how to deal with that. So remember that these are highly loving individuals in a highly dysfunctional relationship with you. Right? So when you're dealing with them, remember that it's okay, that it's highly dysfunctional. It's okay that you get to take a step back. And let's see, what else did I got? So you're in this relationship, you're kind of forced into it. You think you're going to like these people. You think you're going to be able to work with them. And then sometimes that's the case. For many years, it was the case. And then towards the 3, 4, 5 year mark, it didn't become the case. They got a little too comfortable with me. I got a little bit too comfortable with them. We got highly dysfunctional in our relationship. And I actually had a breaking point. So if you guys ever want to talk about breaking points, but that's not going to be part of this conversation because I'll start crying and that'll be ugly. Also, what I didn't understand is that these people have in relationships amongst each other. I had an advisor. We worked very closely with another professor. Every week we met. They have their own relationship that's highly dysfunctional, but works well academically. Remember that you're just one other person and you're stuck in the middle of their relationships as well. So how do you deal with this? It's hard. It will always be hard. There is no easy answer. That's why I'm also going to talk about mental health, right? There is no like, oh, I'm just going to do this and everything will be okay. No, you actually have to do all of these things that everyone's been talking about and that Sarah's going to talk about. We do. We have to take care of ourselves. I have a lovely family. I have dogs. I have kids. I have a decent work-life balance, and I still hated parts of my education. And it wasn't because I hated education. I can now say with certainty, I'm a pretty smart person. I can do this. You can do this. All of you in this room can do this. It still sucks sometimes, and that's okay, right? That's the first step. It's okay. But then you have to go out, and you have to ask for help. Oh, crap, I am getting teary. Oh, I haven't talked about this in a while. Maybe that's why. Okay. So go ask for help. I had people in natural resources that helped me with stats. I had people in landscape architecture that would help me with putting ideas together. I had people, everyone. I talked to everyone. I used to visit the coffee shops every morning because that's where I got a lot of my good work done, right? I did my homework there. And you're always asking for help because you're going to end up helping other people, and all these other people are going to end up helping you, right? And realizing that we're all struggling, I think, is the first step. And then that's also the first step in being kind to yourself, because we're all here. We're all here because we're probably those people who, I would assume, every single one of us in this room are highly functioning, smart, brilliant people who are capable of doing the things we set our minds to do. That doesn't mean we're kind to one another, and especially kind to ourselves. It's okay. It's okay to have shit days. It really is. And you have them, and then you go on, right? So the last thing, when I did have my breaking point, seek professional help. And that was hard. I'm going to end there. And so if you guys want to know more about that, there's lots and lots of places. The USU has the Student Counseling and Psychological Services, TSC room 306. It's okay. I graduated with straight A's, not 1 A- out of my entire career. And I needed help.
I did my undergrad in therapy, and you don't have to be at a breaking point to go to therapy. Like, we can all benefit from that. So it's not something you need to be embarrassed about. My name's Sarah. I did my undergraduate degree in music therapy, and then I did my master's here at Utah State in family and human development, and I finished in 2016. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about. First, learning how to be flexible and accepting of change. When I started, I was like, I'm writing a thesis. I knew what I was going to write about. I was all excited about research, but things changed for me in my interest. Theory, like, what is that? And research, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I remember being very overwhelmed the first few weeks of class, going, oh my gosh, all these people know who Bronfenbrenner is? Like, I didn't. It was just really overwhelming. And I remember meeting with a professor and talking with him, and he said, it's not that because they're talking more in class doesn't mean they're smarter than you. You're just learning it differently. You think it out in your mind, they think it out loud. And he helped me learn to value the way I learn and remember that I don't have to compare myself to other people. So I feel like that's really important. And the last thing I wanted to say is through my master's degree, I mean, of course, there's times where it's really hard and just like impossible. You think you just can't do it anymore. But there were days when I woke up and went, oh my gosh, I gotta go to school and learn about marriage or family or, you know, anything in that realm, human development. And it was just, it made me so happy. And so during those times when you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do it for one more day, just remember why you started. And it might not, you know, make it easier or better, but it'll be something that will help you be motivated to get to the end of your degree. And you can do it. We all can do it.
So thanks to our panel for all of those comments. Appreciate your personalizing this topic somewhat and speaking from your own experience. So I just have a couple of takeaways that I'd like to mention. First of all, Stephen talked about the pi rule, which I think is great, but I would recommend the 2 pi rule. Okay, so the first pi is 3.14 takes longer. The second part of that is reward yourself. When you finish that task that took 3.1415 times longer, have a piece of pie. And that's part of this issue of taking care of yourself, which was mentioned as well. And there's a study that just came out this week, saw link to this morning, in fact. You guys are all young. We're all young. And you feel invincible, and you guys want to have to get student health insurance and this sort of thing. But this was a very large study, lots and lots of people over a long period of time. If you spend 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, getting some sort of exercise, you will significantly reduce your mortality risk. You will live longer. And that's part of taking care of yourself. It's part of taking a break from sitting at your desk all day, which is what many of us do, because that's the sort of work that we do. You can get a stand-up desk, you can just set a timer and take breaks, but look for those 30 minutes a day to take care of yourself, to get that exercise. Somebody assured me that if you bike up Old Main Hill as part of that, it's down to 15 minutes a day. So take care of yourself. The third thing I made a note here is managing expectations. And that's important for a couple of reasons. One is that's part of taking care of yourself. But one of the things that we put on our forms page, how many of you have been to the graduate school forms page? Okay, there's a lot of hands that aren't up that should be up and hopefully will be up in another 6 months. But that's where we keep all the forms that you will need to navigate through your program. One of the forms on that page is called Student and Advisor Expectations. And have any of you seen that? Anybody sat down with their advisor and gone through it? It's a list of things to talk about with your advisor so you can establish expectations that you have of them so that you can find out what expectations they have of you as a student. And this is not a requirement, it's not something you have to file to graduate, but I think it really is an important part of this process of establishing realistic expectations of yourself and of the people around you who are helping you get your degree. So whether you sit down with this, whether you print it out and sit down with your advisor and go through this and check it off and both sign it, which is one option, whether you just download that form and look through it and say, yeah, okay, that makes sense, just for your own peace of mind to think about what is a reasonable set of expectations. I think that's a really useful tool for you to take advantage of. The last thing I wrote down as a note was to get help, but also give help. So you're going to have students, fellow students, who are looking for help, whether it's field work, whether it's studying for an exam, whether it's learning about how to use a tool, how to use Excel, how to write a macro, how to do a pivot table. You're part of a community of scholars here, and you should be, as part of that, looking for opportunities to help your fellow students. As you move along in the program, you're going to have opportunities to help your advisor because you're going to become an expert in things that your advisor doesn't know about. And you should not feel reluctant to ask for help from your fellow students, from your advisor. Whether that help is, again, how do I do this statistical test? How do I collect these data? How do I write a data management plan? How do I outline my thesis? What are the steps for doing that? How do I keep an appropriate lab manual so that I have the information I need when I go to write my thesis? Don't feel shy about asking for help, and please feel generous about giving help to your fellow students, to the other members of your community. And along those lines, I also just, as an aside, put in the plug for our next GrTS, which is all about mental health and the resources that are available here on campus. So if that's something which you feel like at any point in your time here that you're struggling, dealing with things, struggling coping with things, the resources that we'll be talking about in our next GrTS session are something which are very important and we actually do that. So again, I want to thank the panel, and at this point I'd like to open it up to you folks for questions that you might have for any of the panelists about responses, questions you have, follow-up questions, other ideas about where to get breakfast. Is it really hopeless getting dinner here in Cache Valley? But what questions do you folks have? Don't forget the part about being generous in offering help, but also being willing to ask for help. Yes?
I have a question to the fourth speaker,
Margie.
Okay. So, can you please give some more tips on balancing work life and family life with kids? Like, because you mentioned.
I do. I have kids. I have dogs. I have a husband. And to be fair, my husband and I are not on very good terms right now. We might have had something to do with the kids' day. tended to, I don't know, nobody works exactly the same way as everybody else, right? When I work, I get highly focused for about 4 to 8 hours at a time. And that's the way my brain works. There's days where I can't do that. I'm highly unproductive those days. I'm like, crap, let me go pick up the kids from school. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's go, like, yeah, that day is not a good day, right? I was at work, I was trying, and it didn't work. And I had to let myself have those days. And those are the days that were fantastic with the kids, right? Those are the days where I went and I took the dogs on a walk. Those are those days where, you know, it was more important to go skiing that day. And I actually really enjoyed those days. And I think that everything everybody had said, I made all of these mistakes. And I think that we all are going to make all of these mistakes. And we're all going to learn, and then we're all going to figure out how to work through them. But, you know, you have to schedule it. I just never felt guilty. If I was with my kids, I was with my kids. That's a great day. And sometimes I'm with my kids and I'm exhausted and I still have like 3 more homework assignments I have to do. And so then you don't sleep so much. And you balance it. Like, it's not, I mean, I guess the take home is be kind to yourself. Take it, accept that you've taken that time with the kids, and then appreciate that you've taken that time with the kids. And figure out if I didn't get sleep that day, I get sleep the next day. It's like, I mean, as Sarah said, life is messy, you know, and we try to schedule in 15-minute increments. Yeah, that doesn't work for me. like it's just messy. Like, it's okay. Like, yeah, keep a smile on your face, whatever that takes.
Thank you.
Oh, Sarah.
I know you didn't ask me about this, but, and I don't have kids, but something that I try to do every few months is sit down and write down the things in my life that are most important to me. And I try to put that somewhere where I can see it and try to schedule those things first. And school obviously will be on that list, but so will other things. And I think it's important to treat them with just as much seriousness and as much like their respect. Yeah, that's perfect. As you do for your schoolwork.
What do you miss the most, or what are you going to miss the most about grads? And I think all of them.
Will you guys just try and repeat the question into the microphone?
So the question was, what will we, or what do we miss the most about grad school?
Well, I specifically really enjoyed working with my advisor, Mark Leakoven. That's the whole reason that I came here. I'm still here and he's still here, so I have a little bit of access to him, but I specifically really am going to miss having him be required to meet with me and to pester me and to critique me and to push me, because that's a big part of why I think I learned so much while I was here. So working with him specifically.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
It's still too fresh.
Yeah, I think it's been nice. It's been pretty nice that I've had flexibility with time and stuff. It's nice to be able to work either in the morning or in the evening or at night whenever you need to. And I'm gonna have to learn how to do a 9-to-5 job, I guess, soon. But yeah, I can't. It's also been really fun to be able to socialize, like you said, and work alongside other students that are trying to get their degree, learn from one another. But I think I'll probably have similar types of relationships afterwards with coworkers and other people.
I think overall I've had a pretty positive experience here. So I guess as I'm looking forward to finishing in the next month, the certainty I've had for the last 4 years that I'm going to be here in Logan and I'm going to be doing my research, and that's what I'm going to be doing now that I'm thinking about having to get a job or something along those lines. And for me, because I do a lot of field work, field work for my own project, I spent the last 3 summers in northern Alaska where the sun doesn't set, and I go fishing for work. And then I will look at the northern lights in the fall. But helping other people with their field work, wherever that may be, getting out and getting different experiences that you can't do when you have a typical job.
I don't think I have anything. You definitely ability to schedule your own time. I spend a whole lot of my time doing a whole lot of my work at a coffee shop. It certainly wasn't in front of in my desk. And then when I was at my desk, it's the camaraderie. There's a whole bunch of cool people at this university. You guys are so lucky to be able to have them in such close proximity and being able just to talk to them and start up conversations that you wouldn't. You still have that. I'm still on campus and I still work on campus, and I love academia. Like, that's what I like. I don't do as well outside of academia as I do inside of academia. But it's still different. There's less interaction. So enjoy that. I mean, it's almost like a big slumber party for a whole lot of really smart kids.
Yeah, that's what I would say too, camaraderie. I don't have anything else to add.
Other questions?
So I know like you guys all work differently, but where are your boundaries in terms of like being kind of selfish with your own time, like scheduling your own time and then, helping other people out? Because I find that sometimes like, I help this person with their research and, I don't want to spread myself too thin. So where do you guys figure out when you start to little too hard at helping?
I would just say when, and that's something I touched on, is, learning when to say no and that it's okay to say no. That yes, you should help people when you can. But if you're not getting things checked off on your own list and someone's asking, say, I can't now, ask me next time, I've got to get these things done before I can help someone else. If it's going to be a big chunk of your time or something like that. If it's just, a 5-10 minute thing where you're going to save that person a couple hours by helping them, then yes, you can help them out for 5-10 minutes. But I think it's something you only figure out when you need to figure out when you need to, be selfish. And that's, different for everyone, I think.
I also think it's a really big morale booster when you're able to help other people. Like you said, if you're saving them hours with just a few of your minutes, it makes you feel really good about yourself. But yeah, if you're on a deadline for something and they're asking for a big chunk of your time, it's perfectly fine to say no.
Definitely very important to be able to say no, but I say err on the side of doing favors for people. A wise person once told me, never ask for favors, but always do them. And I'm trying to kind of live in that philosophy, and I think it's a really good way to conduct yourself. But sometimes it just does not fit with what you're trying to do, and just be open with people and explain to them that that might be not the right time, that you can't help them for that, and you're not going to be good at helping them for whatever it is that they need, and that's why.
So, I mean, as academics, we kind of bounce between a lot of different, learning a bunch of different skills, a bunch of, kind of wear a lot of hats. How do you break down your time in kind of learning more technical proficiencies, more kind of, how do you kind of split your time between gaining kind of that subject matter expertise and doing kind of the smaller tasks?
Good answer for that. I think it's kind of like we're talking about something we're going to miss is the access that we have to all these great people. I think it's a really good idea to go to the experts on whatever it is that you're trying to learn, and at least ask them for their help. And some of them are going to let you down, they're not going to respond to you, but the coolest ones are going to, and they're going to want to help you, and they're going to want to engage with someone who really cares. So ask the question. It's never going to hurt to try to find the people who are going to be the best to teach you any technical thing.
I don't know that there's actually an answer. I mean, Mikey's absolutely right, but I don't know that there's any actual answer that 30% of your time should be spent on, there's nothing like that. I think that what we can do is, as time permits, one of the things that I found after about 3 years of doing my PhD is for Lent, I gave up Facebook. Holy crap. How amazing was that? Do you know how much work that got done that 40 days? Like, that was crazy. And then all of a sudden I was able to learn like 3 different technical skills, right? So I think that that's how you have to approach that. Like, give up stuff look around what you're doing. If there's something that you can give up that's giving you some benefit, because it was lovely to sit down and look at what all my friends were doing for 5 minutes that turned into 2 hours. It was lovely. But giving that up was brilliant.
Because things start to seem more and more fragmented, and it's hard to kind of...
Yeah, and as we've talked, as especially the 3 boys talked, or the 3 men talked about, really, I mean, you do have to manage your time. But then you also have to realize that that just doesn't, life is messy, right? So you have to kind of go between the two. You do have to figure out how to manage all the little things, but then you have to get your technical skills in. And sometimes your technical skills, you're getting those in for a good 2 months at a time. And then the other 3 months, you're doing a whole lot of little things and only working part-time with that. And you're smart, all of you, and you're going to figure that out. There's no right answer to that, I think. Definitely just, you got to learn it.
I don't know if this is applicable to you, but for me, a lot of the time that I spent taking data, it was all automated, and I had a lot of free time while I was just sitting in the lab waiting to push a button. So I took a lot of time to learn about programming or other technical types of things while I was sitting waiting to push buttons.
So the question predicated on a sort of filtering question. So number 1, are any of you dyed-in-the-wool introverts? And if so, I want to know from you. A number of y'all, at least 4 of y'all have spoken, and I think to some degree y'all have spoken of being engaged, being connected, how would you balance that for those who are not inclined toward any of that, for whom people are a type of complex object, and it's no insult to people, but they are?
One quick suggestion, make a point of going to the graduate student socials once a month.
I'm definitely an introvert. I feel like I do a good job at making one-on-one connections with people, but I hate big crowds, and I'm pretty content to sit in my lab alone for big amounts of time. But I think it's, at least for me, it does feel good to sit together with somebody and talk about what they're doing and about what I'm doing every once in a while. And I think that's healthy. Take a break from being alone every once in a while.
I think for me, I had to keep in mind that I'm not going to be able to connect with everyone. Because we're all so different as individuals, it's going to be hard to find individuals that are like you that you'll click with. And sometimes they're hard to find, and that's okay. And but just keep trying, and eventually, I started out graduate school. I grew up here in Logan, and all my friends, when they finished their bachelor's degrees, were gone. So I started graduate school kind of this naive, pathetic little, I don't know anyone kind of person. But I left graduate school with one really good friend. And like, I met a lot of people and I interacted with a lot of people, but that one friend was worth it. If that is helpful to you or not.
I'm obviously an extrovert, right? I like people, I like going around people, and then I need to have my alone time. Like I go crazy if I don't have alone time. So I'm going to think about that alone time when I answer this question. You have to decide what you want. But if you're an introvert, if you need, from psychology, and Sarah could probably help, I think everybody needs some type of human interaction, even if you're an introvert. My sister's a huge introvert, and she and I get along really well, right? And we go and we have a lot of fun together. She does not want to be in a big group. It's me and her. And so I think if you can, when I'm in my introvert stage, the people who normally come and talk to me, I'll be like, hey, they get it. So I guess maybe just be honest about it. It's okay. We're going to accept everybody, right? I hope.
Do you know how did you overcome this necessity of perfection? Maybe you talk
I just think that's a funny question. I don't know if I necessarily have a great answer for it. I think a big part for me, I had a plan on getting my master's degree in 2 years, and it didn't work out that way. And I think a big part was because I got hung up on little details all the time. And I think it's important to realize that if you were able to answer all of the questions you want to answer, there wouldn't be a need for anybody else to come to school. I think we're always learning new things. So I think it's important to achieve something and say, okay, I'm done, rather than keep pushing it. But I think that's probably a personal thing that everybody has to figure out how to do. I don't know if there's an easy answer that I could put to words.
I wasn't perfect the whole lot, and I just kind of got used to it.
I think realizing and thinking about this from writing publications is you could sit and work on a paper that you're going to submit to a journal, and you can work on it with your advisor, go back and forth. You can work on it with yourself, back and forth, drafts and drafts, get it to where you think it's perfect, and then you send it up for review, and it comes back to you, and it is destroyed. And you just have to accept it. And, there's different levels of opinion on what's perfect, and done is better than perfect.
I think also it's important to know, like I said earlier, what your values are and what is most important to you. And some things are not going to be done perfectly because they're not your highest priority. I don't know if that is, I don't know. But sometimes there's just stuff that's not, it just has to get done. And I think that that's something I had to learn was, this one, I just got to get it done. And it's not going to be perfect. But I could be okay because I knew that X, Y, and Z that was most important to me in my life did happen that week. I don't know.
So how long did your master's end up taking, and how did you then go from that to a PhD?
So I'm not doing a PhD, but my master's ended up taking about an extra year, just because I think it's connected also to the fact that I tried to do a lot of my research before I wrote things down. And so I found a lot of little things I needed to check to make sure I was doing things right. Yeah.
My program was a 3-year program, and that had to be that. It couldn't be longer than that for my funding. But if you have, that wasn't a problem for me, but if you have the ability to extend that and you think that that might be a good idea because you're trying to do other things such as pay attention to your personal relationships, visit your family, things like that, I think that it's a good idea. I think that if you guys have the ability to do that, then definitely consider that, because I don't think you should be in a hurry to complete your program and get out of here. I don't think there's a lot of value in that. And I think the value in taking care of yourself and taking care of your personal relationships far outweighs getting done 6 months earlier or 1 year earlier, no doubt.
Other questions or comments? Well, thanks for being here. Please keep in mind our next GRIT session, which will focus on mental health issues and resources that are available here on campus. And again, let's take one last chance to thank the panelists for their contributions.